to Fish on Fridays. I'm Al McCauley, and every July 25th, the Catholic Church celebrates one of the 12 apostles. In fact, one of Jesus's inner circle. And I'm talking about St. James the Greater. He, of course, is the brother of John, one of the sons of Zebedee, also nicknamed the Sons of Thunder. So James is one of those 12 men that Jesus chose. And within that 12, there were three, James, his brother John, and Simon Peter, who are part of Jesus's inner circle. They're the three that accompany him at very specific instances in his ministry, at the raising from the dead of Jairus' daughter, at the transfiguration, and then they follow him to the Garden of Gethsemane, where they're with him and they fall asleep when he is praying the night before he dies. But I want to talk about James a little bit here. After Jesus dies and rises and ascends into heaven, and the apostles are on fire from the Holy Spirit in Pentecost, he is one of the 12 that goes out in ministry to spread the word. In fact, legend has it that he went as far as Spain to preach the gospel, to preach Jesus Christ. And according to tradition, he wasn't very successful at it. In fact, he was quite discouraged at how little the Romans who lived in that part of the world, in the Iberian Peninsula, how little they took to the Christian message. And so the story is that one day he was praying at the bank of the Ebro River, and he was very, like I said, very disheartened, very discouraged. And Mary appeared to him. The Virgin Mary appeared to him and gave him comfort, tried to encourage him, and tried to say, listen, I want you to think of me when you're feeling discouraged. And so she presented him with a small wooden statue of herself on a pillar. And ever since then, we've known her, that apparition, as Our Lady of the Pillar. And she said, I'd like you to have a church built in this spot. And today it's still there. It's called the Zaragoza Basilica, but it's oftentimes referred to as the Basilica of Our Lady of the Pillar. Now, what's fascinating about Our Lady of the Pillar is that she has her own feast day, and that's October 12th. Now, I'm talking about St. James, but this is all connected. So the affinity that Mary has for James to help him, to buoy his spirits, to make him feel like he'll be successful in his ministry is very important. And it's also kind of interesting to think about the Our Lady of the Pillar apparition because it's considered the first Marian apparition in church history. Who knew? But James's his lifetime of service in Christ and spreading the gospel is going to take him from Spain, and he's going to return to Jerusalem. And unfortunately, we're going to hear about this in Acts of the Apostles, chapter 12. We're going to hear about his martyrdom. King Herod Agrippa is going to round up some Christians, among them James, and he's going to have him beheaded. Now, it's important to understand why that Herod would do that. James was considered one of the leaders of the church, if not the leader of the church of Jerusalem. And so he is going to be beheaded because the thought is if you take out the head guy, then maybe the flock will scatter, so to speak. But it obviously doesn't happen because here we are 2,000 years later, still talking about St. James and Jesus, and Herod Agrippa is a footnote to those two. But what's important to remember about this martyrdom is he is the first, James the Greater is the first of the 12 apostles to be martyred. And so he's going to be the one that's going to be the first witness, martyr means witness, to the gospel. Again, tradition tells us that his remains were removed, taken to Spain, and he's buried in a church that's called Santiago de Compostela. And Santiago obviously means St. James, but it's his burial place. And what's interesting and fascinating about it is it has become one of the major pilgrimage sites for Catholics all around the world. They'll go to the Compostela to practice what's called the Camino, which means the way. They're going to walk this pilgrimage to the burial place of St. James. So if you think about the beginning of his ministry in that part of the world in Spain, he felt very unsuccessful. He was discouraged at how little impact he had on converts. And yet still today, 2,000 years later, it's one of the major spots for Catholic pilgrims to go. How many people have come to the faith because they want to go to see St. James's final resting spot and to see this great witness to Jesus and the gospel? So you might say in his lifetime he was unsuccessful, but certainly the lesson of history is that he wasn't, that he was absolutely successful in terms of bringing people to the faith. And those people who are already part of the faith, who go on this journey, their spirits are buoyed, their faith is affirmed. And so it's just been a miraculous 2,000-year love affair with St. James, whether you realize it or not. He's one of the go-to guys when you think about pilgrimages. And I think about this, if I was going to take any lessons away from this, there's two or three. I've said this in other episodes. When you talk about the apostles, the word apostle means sent. The risen Christ sent these men out and women, Mary Magdalene, for instance, sent them out. But they came to him first. He said, follow me. He said to Simon Peter and Andrew and James and John on the Sea of Galilee, he said, come and follow me, and then go and you'll be fishers of men. And isn't that what we all do? We come to Christ so that we can go forth and be sent. And I think about how Santiago de Compostela is such an incredible, attractive pilgrimage site. And if you know what it is to be a pilgrim, you're going to walk. I've been fortunate to go on many pilgrimages, and you walk a lot. You put in a lot of steps. And St. Augustine, who lived right around the year 400, said, it is solved by walking. And so I wonder sometimes, what needs solving in my life? What needs solving in your life? Maybe a good walk around the block. Go to a park and take a walk around the park. Take in the beauty. But just give yourself over to some quiet meditation as you walk, and see how the Holy Spirit speaks to you through that experience. And like Augustine said, it'll be solved, hopefully, by walking. I guess the last lesson I would take is the fact that in his low point, in his being discouraged, St. James was affirmed by Mary. And I can't help but wonder how Mary encourages my faith and how she might encourage yours. The example of her life, the witness of her yes to the Lord, and just her humility, her love of Jesus, how that can be an encouragement for you and I both, especially in our down moments when we're feeling less than encouraged by life or by our faith. So anyway, St. James, great apostle to know. If you know or love somebody named James, maybe you want to share this content with them. We'd love that. If you want to subscribe to our YouTube channel or follow us on Facebook, we'd appreciate that. But either way, we hope you keep tuning in every Friday for Fish on Fridays. Until next time, please be good to each other, and God bless.